Serenity now. The St. Louis Fed says they're not that far behind the curve. Who are they kidding? What's up, everybody? Welcome aboard to Bubba's Bottom Line for Sunday, April the 10th, my birthday. But who cares? You get this age, it's just another day. But certainly a lot of things going on in markets and geopolitically and around the globe. And we'll get as much of it as we can in our weekly show. And I guess we'll start off with the idiots from the St. Louis Federal Reserve, Bullard, telling us that they're not that far behind the curve. I don't know the way I could calculate. They're only 10 years behind at least, and they should have never bailed out the banks in the first place, so we wouldn't be here right now. But of course, they're going to say whatever it is they want to say, and tell us and feed us the same old bullshit that they always do. I mean, listen, let's face it, the Fed is not on our team. The Fed is not on our side. The Fed works for the government, even though they're supposedly a private corporation. But where is Jerome Powell? He's like looking for Waldo. We can't find him either. So they continue to peddle the same ridiculous story that says that that we have no inflation. We don't have this. Look, you know what you're paying. You know what's going on. Okay. Are you going to let those people call you an idiot? Because that's what they're calling us. Okay. Interesting part of the week, though, Tennessee Titans, an NFL team. Now, remember, if you go back to when gambling was allowed, the NFL, none of the major sports wanted gambling. Now they're partners with the bookmakers. Okay. And in fact, you can bet games right in your seat. Well, now Tennessee Titans are going to accept Bitcoin. Now, does that give it the green light? I don't know. I don't say that it necessarily gives it the green light, but it's certainly, you've got a major corporation. Now, remember, this is a multi-billion-dollar corporation, the NFL, and one of their components is now accepting, which means the others are not far behind. And I think what you're finally starting to see, which is what we talked about all along, is that billionaires are backing Bitcoin because they're tired of the phony, crooked fiat fraud that is being perpetrated by central banking systems around the globe. It is not just the Federal Reserve in the United States. It is all central banks around the globe that continue to manipulate, which is why they're driving for that digital currency, which is coming a lot sooner than you think. And God help us when it comes. Your freedom, if you think your freedom has been stripped away now, wait. And of course, I think it was a big story during the week that Elon Musk bought a big piece of Twitter. And I think that he's tired of the fact that our freedom of speech has been taken away slowly but surely. And I think that he's stepping up. I mean, listen, think what you want about Elon Musk. He's a genius. He's built great companies, and he's not afraid to say what he thinks. And I think that's what he's actually saying in this message. And of course, he's a big investor in Bitcoin as well, as is Jack Dorsey of Twitter and Square fame. So we'll see where it takes us, and we'll talk about Bitcoin in our market segment. But we're believers in we call it the currency of the libertarian. Okay, but I think it's interesting. And now once again in Canada, you've got the government. Yeah, really dumb. They're stepping in and restricting foreign purchases of their lands. Okay. Now, again, I don't know why they would halt a market that is hot. Okay. But again, obviously they have their reasons, whatever it is. I have no idea. I mean, but if we go back to the United States back into the 80s, okay, when actually Japan paid a record price for a piece of real estate in Pebble Beach. And of course, it has never seen that price ever again that they paid back in the 80s. Okay. There's a lot of talk about the Russia-Ukraine conflict. And listen, first of all, let me say it's a horrible story, right? innocent lives being lost, a horrendous deal for everybody, okay, but especially the Ukrainians, especially the innocent that didn't want this in the first place. And of course, you can talk about the default. The U.S. sanctions policy forces Russian default. Well, they have not defaulted, okay. We may think they have, and of course, President Biden might want you to believe that they have, but they have not. There is only one way to make Russia default. Okay? And in fact, Russia still holds the upper hand in the EU and in Germany because that's their natural gas supplier. Okay, so you can say whatever you want. President Biden can mumble away from the teleprompter on TV, telling us that they forced a default. But again, I think you can say that Russia told other countries, you want our oil, you want our natural gas, you have to pay in rubles, which is why we've seen a pretty dramatic move in the ruble. Okay, and again, I would there's one way to force sanctions to work. Okay, and how is that? How do we do that? We pump oil like crazy. We bring the price back down to $35 a barrel. We go back to liquefying natural gas, supply Germany, United Kingdom, and the rest. And of course, then Russia's out of business. But no, we would not do that. We're more worried about climate change, which you'll hear more in my commentary today. But you've got a global fertilizer shortage. Okay. And part of it is the conflict, which is, there are components in Russia and in Ukraine that are very important to fertilizer. You're going to have a food shortage. Okay. And when will or where will the food riots start? Well, there's a pretty good guess that they're going to start in the Middle East. There's a pretty good guess that they're going to start in Egypt and that area there because they are barren anyways. And they need supplies for bread and things like that. And if you don't think bread is important, remember Marie Antoinette. She lost her head over a loaf of bread, basically. Okay. But so there's going to be, we already have in the United States shortages. Now, one of the things that we have that others don't is we are not an impoverished nation. You don't think that people in Africa are going to starve because of this food shortage? They're going to be the last to get food. We're going to be the first, most likely, because we produce most of it, number one. And number two, we have the most money still, okay, as a society. But it will leave Mumbles, President Biden in charge, and pretty soon we'll have none of that either, okay? But I think that you see that, there's a lot of issues to begin. And, of course, suddenly we're starting to see some cracks in the housing market. The selling prices are now, after I undersold and overpaid, prices are starting to come down now. Okay. But that, of course, is why. Well, because interest rates are now over 5%. Okay. So if you go back, all right, now I'll give you a perfect example. I don't know, 2 or 3 years ago, I borrowed every penny on both of my homes. Okay. And at I think 2 1/4. Okay. On a 15-year mortgage, I believe. I'm not sure about the number, but somewhere around that neighborhood. And then we sold one house, bought another one, and the new mortgage on the new house is 4.5. But we'll compare apples to apples. I got a 15 at 337, so I'm 50% higher on the rate, and that was just 2 weeks ago. Now they're even higher. Okay, and in fact, the inversion of the yield curve is complete. 2 years are almost more expensive than 10s, and they are more expensive than 5s. Okay. And basically 10s and 30s are almost the same as well. Okay. Which is never a good sign when the lending values invert, because short-term money should not be more expensive than long-term money. Okay. So there's a lot of cracks starting to show up in those areas. And I think that, you have an issue, okay, in these markets, okay, that will often come to play. And I think these are the things that we look at. And of course, what has been driving, what drove the market in 2008 and what drove the market recently is housing. Okay. So now suddenly you've got this sudden lesser demand. But I think that, when you look at the overall deal, what's going on here, we've got so many problems. Okay. Besides housing. Okay. We've got the loss of freedom, a supply chain that is almost non-existent, empty shelves at every store. I think that you've got inflation skyrocketing, and what are we going to do about it? Okay, we're doing nothing about it. We're President Biden is, in his own unique wisdom, once again, is extending the student loan forgiveness. Now, somebody has to explain to me, when there are plenty of jobs available, okay, and there's plenty of money to be made, why are we extending student loan forgiveness? It would be one thing if we had no jobs, but we have plenty of jobs. So why are we extending the forgiveness of student loans? Is this for an election ploy because we're coming near yet another election? That is one of the issues in this country, is that we have too many elections, okay? Which is why it goes back to term limits, which is what we should be having, which would be the president should be 1 6-year term. A senator can be 1 6-year term, and a House seat could be 1 6-year term on alternating cycles, so that we have a chance to change our minds, as you see right now. You never want all three branches of government to be under one party's control, Republican or Democrat. You need to have a buffer in between. But I don't know. I think that you've got, many problems here. And of course, into every uptick, it looks like their sellers are appearing. And we'll talk about more in our market segment, because there's a lot to talk about in the market segment today as well. But we have problems, kids. I mean, there's no other way to put it, between an administration that is as dumb as it gets, between their policies, which are even dumber. Okay. Now you can back them all you want. Look, I can't tell you how to think. Okay. But from a straight look at it, it looks pretty dumb to me. Okay. And now the state of New Jersey is requiring second graders to learn about gender identity. Now, I don't know about you, and I'm sure some of you out there are a big fan. But if my kid is in the New Jersey school in second grade, they aren't teaching gender and identity at that age. I mean, it's in second grade, kids are lucky if they know who they are, period, let alone. But so we're now trying to create more of this transgender debate. And I think that is ridiculous. Okay. Look, if you want to be a girl and you're a guy, you want to be a guy and you're a girl, I got no problem with it. That's your business. However, if you want to compete in competitive sports for money, a guy switching to a girl, you could do it just for the money. Okay, let's face it. Men are stronger than women typically. Not every man is stronger than every woman, but overall, testosterone is the strength. Okay, and I can't tell you. I'm sure that the parents are going up in arms in New Jersey with this whole thing, because I think it's a much bigger problem. And as you look at it, I think that you're going to see some major issues. But this whole, listen, I am a believer. Be what you want to be. If you're not breaking the law, okay, you should be whatever you want to be. I have no problem. I have no issue with any of it. But when you start to take an advantage, okay, and you start to use your whatever for a competitive advantage, I don't think that is correct. I think that should be stopped. Okay, but that's just one man's opinion, and of course, it is Masters weekend, and what a great tournament has been. Scotty Scheffler kicking ass and taking names. In the meantime, we're going to stop out here for a break. We'll be right back with more Bubba's Bottom Line and our market report right after the break. Bubba's Bottom Line, Sunday, April the 10th. Well, kids, what's going on? Well, as you know, we've got some sponsors, and of course, they're always scrolling on the bottom or on the sides. But make sure you check them out. Look at I only vet and talk about sponsors that I am directly involved with, that I use myself, that I'm willing to put my money to work with. I mean, I've got many brokers, okay, both equity and futures. But for futures and commodities, it's Capital Trading Group. Okay. Why do I let them handle 90% of my money? Because they're a great company, because I've got great service, because when I pick up the phone and call them, I don't have to go through, dial this extension, do this, do that. They pick up the phone and say hello. Okay. And again, they're the only ones I've been able to authorize for a letter of direction trading. They are a partner of ours in the day trader's dream. You got to check them out. Look, I'm not telling you to go to them. Check them out. info.capitaltradinggroup.com/Bubba. That's info.capitaltradinggroup.com/Bubba. And of course, for equities and options and soon to be cryptocurrency that will be in your trading account so that you can use it as the money instead of putting it into a wallet somewhere. You get to use it through trading or brokerage at $10 a month, and they're going to have cryptos now. I don't know how you could miss. Plus, we have their APIs, which allows us to automate your portfolio. You know, if you're in one of our programs at no cost, and if you're hedging, there's a licensing fee because you took a class. But you can auto trade your portfolio yourself without having to worry about somebody else making the decision for you. It is all automatic. Try.trader.com/Bubba. That's try.trader.com/Bubba. And for you metals fans, Strategic Wealth Preservation. Check them out. That's where I do all my shopping for gold, silver, and platinum. And you can either take delivery or have them store for you. But check them out at swpcayman.com/Bubba-trading. That's swpcayman.com/Bubba-trading. And of course, don't forget about our high school program, which will be brand new and ready to rock and roll for the new school year. Okay. Check us out at patreon.com/Bubba-trading. That's patreon.com/Bubba-trading. Let's get back to Bubba's Bottom Line with me, your host, Todd Bubba Horwitz, and of course, our market report. Welcome back. It is Bubba's Bottom Line. It is Todd Bubba Horwitz. And of course, here we are with markets that look like they're about ready to turn around. They look like they're ready to turn over. Okay. I don't make predictions, but from watching price action, from watching what they call tape action, to me, I've said this for the last 6 or 7 weeks, that the whole rally appeared to be driven by retail, and that the big firms or the institutional traders were waiting. And I think they're about now ready to take their licks. Okay. They're about ready now to pound on this market. You know, the lack of volume has been a concern. And I think it's something that we have to remember and be concerned about. Okay. So in the meantime, I would say to you this, that, look, we don't make predictions. And as it stands now, last week, the strongest of the week was the Dow. The weakest of the week was the Russell. So if you look at that just on a curve, that's a bearish sign as well. All 4 major indices were lower. We were long all 4 at one point. We are now short the Russell. Okay, still long the Dow, NASDAQ, and S&P. But tonight, or tomorrow, depending on how you do it, we will be rotating or reversing the NASDAQ to short. Now, that's also a bearish sign because the NASDAQ and the Russell are the high flyers. And when those start to go down and get sold off, that usually precludes more selling. And then you tie in when the Dow is the strongest of them all. That's another warning sign. Again, I don't want you to panic. I'm just giving you the factuals about the business. In the meantime, so coming into trading Monday, we will be short the NASDAQ, short the Russell, long the S&P, and still long the Dow. And obviously, those are not far from changing as well. Okay. But I think, you got to take a look. And of course, gold and silver continue to vacillate in a tight range, indicating a much bigger move is coming. Gold for another week has not been able to violate either the tops or the bottoms along with silver. And again, we're still short both. Now, 1900 to 1960 in gold and 24 to 26 in silver. But I would expect there's a chance the bottoms could come out here. Now, we're big fans. We're not telling you to sell out your physical holdings. But from a trading standpoint, I don't mind being short whatsoever in here. Okay, looks like to me there's a greater chance I could break, but we'll see. We are short on both. Crude, we're still long. It's kind of painful at this level. When it goes up to 125, now it's back to 99. But of course, we've been long since about 50. But at the end of the day, okay, crude's going, I think, a lot higher. This ties right into, the president's shitty energy policy. This ties into the president and the administration trying to bust out the middle class and small business. I mean, you can tell me all you want. They're in favor of small business. They're killing small business with their policies. And if they go back to pumping oil and drilling, okay, we also take care of Russia and get those sanctions to actually work. But who am I to speak? In the meantime, bonds and notes are getting clobbered, okay, which means interest rates are going higher, and they are. The 10-year's at 272, and I'm telling you, 3% is like a magic number. If that hits over 3, you better look for some pretty heavy selling in the markets. I would expect it. The dollar for the week was, higher. We were short, we were long, and we're long now. Dollars. Okay. Euro currency continues on its trek to 88 cents. It's $1.09 right now, and we are still short. Bitcoin, we are long at the moment, but we will be reversing tonight or tomorrow. Okay, we'll be reversing Bitcoin, and that kind of goes counter to what we talked about with what the billionaires think. But I mean, I agree. But again, everything has a price and a value until, and I think that we'll probably see a little bit of a pullback. You've got the natural gas going to Pluto. I mean, I don't know. I think it's 20 years since natural gas, so anywhere near these levels at this time of year. This is the lull time, the downtime for nat gas, and it's well over $6, and we are, of course, still long. Okay, the copper markets, we're getting hurt a little bit. Copper, we're short. It hasn't gone anywhere, but it refuses to break, which indicates to me it's probably going to pop higher. In lumber, which nobody can trade, but we do follow it just as a benchmark. And lumber is falling, but well off the lows it made months ago. So we'll see where they go from there. And if we take a look in the grain markets, we're short corn, and we're short beans, and we're short wheat at the moment. I apologize. We're long corn. I don't know if I said short or long, but either way, we're long corn. We will be long beans either tonight or tomorrow. Again, this goes to how you trade the models. Okay, so we are reversing back, and it's kind of what I said when we sold them. I didn't think that the short was the right side of the trade. I do think grains are going to go dramatically higher. And in fact, I will go one step farther to say that soybeans, beans in the teens, when they come out of the teens, it won't be at 12, it'll be at 20 or higher. I think we see $10 corn. I think there's so many issues out there that will create higher prices. And some of it's good for farmers, some of it's not so good. But I think we're going higher. The meats, the protein complex was all lower during the week. And this is, the cattle makes more sense, right? The cattle being lower for the week makes sense because, of course, crude is higher and cattle is an expensive protein. It's more of a luxury item for many in these conditions. In the meantime, we're short cattle. Okay, we're also short hogs right now. But at hogs, I think at a little bit more of a pullback would be probably a pretty good buy. I think that, as they say, they call it the other white meat. And I think that it is going to be a player, especially if crude starts to go higher, because people are going to budget their money and what they want to do with it and how they're going to get there. And I think that's what happens. And that's why I expect to see hogs go higher. And in the softs, cotton, we're still long. It had a down week, but not down. I mean, it's just down and very little. Look at where it's at $1.31. Okay. And coffee, we're long again, which is once again higher. Sugar exploded, which we're long. Cocoa exploded, which we're long. And OJ exploded, which we're long. They all had big up weeks. Okay. So I think you just have to remember that these commodities are going to be dramatically affected by the inflation, by the lack of fertilizer, by all of the things we talk about on a regular basis. They are coming into play, and that nothing more bothers these things than the ridiculous energy policy, which I'll say again is just dumb. And why are we paying $100 a barrel for crude oil and letting others get rich when we could be paying $30? Okay. And filling our tanks for $1.99 or $2 instead of $4 or $5 or $6. In the meantime, this is Bubba's Bottom Line. Todd Bubba Horowitz. We're going to step out here for a break. and be right back with our weekly commentary right here on Bubba's Bottom Line, April 10th, 2022. Well, kids, again, I'm not going to tell you who they all are again. You can see them scrolling on the sides and on the bottom, but it's Capital Trading Group and Trade Your Brokerage, Strategic Wealth Preservation, and Patreon. Again, we want you to help our vendors and our sponsors. Take a look. Again, if they're not for you, they're not for you. I don't care who you go. I use others, but I mean, predominantly I use these because I vetted them and they're great. They're great places to be. Okay. But now we'll get back to Bubba's Bottom Line. And of course, my commentary. And so let's get back to that with me, myself, Todd Bubba Horwitz. Welcome back. It is Bubba's Bottom Line. Of course, it is my commentary, and it is Sunday, April the 10th, the final round of the Masters. Major League Baseball has already started, and what a story. And I tell you what, I am so sick and tired of the apocalypse now, climate control jagoffs, that it makes me want to puke. Okay, we've got climate control, and green energy and global warming. It's interesting that they just had a conference, okay, of global warming. And how did the participants get there? Only 200 private jets flying in the air, okay, polluting our airways as they go for a green energy deal, a global warming deal, which I don't even believe in anyways, okay? But I want to ask you, okay, what cost? Okay, I mean, the Apocalypse Now, okay, is saying that we're on a fast track to disaster, and the world will end in 3 years if we don't do something about it. Really? Does anybody out there really believe that? Are any of us that dumb or gullible to believe that we are ending in 3 years? The climate can change, the global warming is a bunch of bunk. Okay. Look at the LIVESTOCK study. You can look wherever you want. Okay. Prove it. Show me. But even if it was partially true, tell me at what cost do we want to try to get there? Because China and India are not going to stop polluting. Okay. So you can talk your crap all you want. Okay. The major partners of the world are not going to stop polluting. They're not going to do anything different, and they're not going to stop using fossil fuels. So why shouldn't the United States of America, be able to put the power back in our pocket instead of everybody else, instead of talking about this ridiculous global warming crap, which doesn't really exist? But again, at what cost do you want to stop looking at it? Bubba's Bottom Line, Todd Bubba Horwitz, Sunday, April the 10th. Have a great weekend, everybody. As always, I thank you for being here. Enjoy the Masters if you're a fan, and we'll see you back here again tomorrow with a Bubba's Daily Update. Have a great weekend, everybody. We'll see you later.